An Inuk professor is speaking out about the issue of Indigenous identity at Memorial University. Daniel Bennett says he raised the issue of verifying indigeneity claims at MUN late last year. Bennett says he offered to help shape a robust policy, but he didn't hear back. As Here and Now's Ariana Kelland reports, his concerns were partly prompted by the university president talking about her own heritage.
Daniel Bennett first applied to MUN under an Indigenous cluster hire. He self-identified and submitted a letter of support from a community leader. Bennett says he wasn't hired right away. He later was, and says there was no proper verification of his identity. Then he had a second concern at an event last summer for Indigenous hires where President Vianne Timmons spoke.
And she said at the time, great-great-grandmother or great-great-great-grandmother was from Calm River. For me, that was a red flag because I, had been aware of certain individuals, particularly in academic settings, that were trying to connect themselves to an Indigenous heritage or identity. So I thought it was peculiar that she didn't know if it was great-great or great-great-great.
Bennett says he met with the Vice President Indigenous in December to ask about a vetting policy, specifically about people at the university referencing Indigenous ancestry, though he didn't name Timmons in the meeting. It's not clear how, if at all, a policy would have made a difference in relation to Timmons. Her 2019 CV submitted to MUN did not mention her past membership in an unrecognized band, and she says she feels she has always been clear in distinguishing she does not identify as Indigenous, but has Mi'kmaq ancestry.
What that implies, without actually saying, is that you are Indigenous. So I think it's inappropriate, actually, to be putting that forth. And when I look at Dr. Timmons, she's someone that worked with Indigenous communities for 20 or 30 years, and she either knows better or ought to have known better to do that.
Bennett says he offered to help shape any policy, but did not hear back. We asked the Vice President Indigenous, Catherine Anderson, for an interview. She declined but sent a statement. In it, she says Indigenous cluster hires need to submit a self-identification form and a letter of support from their community. And that document is reviewed by an Elders Advisory Council. Now, her statement did not address wider concerns about lacking identity policies or practices applicable to any hire. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.